오, 감사합니다.
샌드위치 너무 예쁘다. 맛있어 보이는데요?
진짜 저 미국 음식이 체질적으로 잘 맞는 것 같아요.
근데 샌드위치는 엄밀히 말하면 미국이라기보다는 영국에서 온 음식이지 샌드위치 백작도 있었으니까.
이건 뭐 이태리 음식이라고 얘기하죠. 그렇죠?
근데 그러면 혹시 인도 음식에서 유명한 거는 뭔지 알아?
인도 음식 하면 커리나 탄두리 치킨, 라시 정도?
근데 작가님께서 인도 음식을 꺼내는 이유를 알 것 같아요. 이번 주 게스트가 주한인도대사님이시죠. 비슈누 프라카시. 인도가 사실 땅도 크고 인구도 많고 잠재력도 굉장히 많잖아요. 그리고 최근에는 우리나라하고의 그 무역량도 엄청 많아졌다고요.
네, 2011년까지 200억 달러를 넘어섰는데 2015년까지는 400억 달러가 교역 목표량이래요.
200억 달러면 진짜 많은 거죠?
한 20조 원 정도 되는데 이게 이제 우리나라에서 수출하는 나라 국가 순위에서도 인도가 한 9위 정도 차지하니까 최근에 와서 굉장히 교역량이 많이 늘어났다고 볼 수 있을 것 같아요.
근데 주로 어떤 분야의 교역이 많아요?
주로 IT랑 전자제품제 강세라고 얘기 들었고 인도에서는 삼성, LG 같은 우리나라 대기업 모르는 사람 몇 분 정도 하거든요.
근데 민간 교류도 많다고 들었는데?
2011년에 인도 문화원이 생겼는데 그 요가나 인도 전통춤 까딱춤
뭐 까딱까딱 뭐 이런 거.
굉장히 인기래요. 이게 추가 강자가 계속 생긴대요.
사실 인도하고 우리나라는 그 고대 때부터 교류가 좀 많았잖아요.
맞아요. 그 김수로왕 부인도 인도에서 왔다고 얘기 들었는데요. 그 허황후.
그거 설화로만 내려주는 거 아니었어요? 진짜요?
상무 미사일도 나오니까 뭐 진짜겠지.
그 왕호천축 국전도 인도 얘기잖아요.
그렇죠. 해초 스님이 인도 갔다 와서 쓰신 기행문이잖아요.
그러니까 우리나라하고 인도의 공식적인 외교 관계는 40주년이지만 비공식 관계는 그건 수천 년 전부터 이어져 왔던 거죠.
갑자기 인도가 되게 가깝게 느껴져요.
근데 인도 사람들은 우리나라를 어떻게 생각할까요?
좋게 생각하지 않을까? 그 인도의 시인 타고르 노벨상 받은 분도 우리나라를 두고 시 썼잖아요. 동방의 등.
네, 저 그거 알아요. 그라페스 하우스.
진짜?
네.
오. 어디 뭐 좀 한번 확인 한번 해볼까?
네. The lamp of the east. In the golden age of Asia, Korea was one of its lamp bearers. And that lamp is waiting to be lighted.
그런데 보니까 인도 대사님이 부임하신 지가 얼마 안 되신 것 같아요.
프로필 보니까 2012년이라고 돼 있더라고요.
제가 알기로는 2012년까지는 인도 외무부에서 대변인으로 근무하시다가 작년에 대사로서는 우리나라에 처음으로 발령받아서 오신 걸로 알고 있어요.
오, 그럼 열동도 되게 대단하시겠어요. 첫 대사가 되시면.
그리고 대변인 하셨다면 말씀도 아주 잘하실 것 같고 긴장을 해야 될 것 같아요. 그럼 키워드 한번 정리를 해볼게요. 처음에 뭐가 있죠?
그 한국과 인도의 최근 관계에 대해서 얘기하면 좋을 것 같아요.
또 뭐가 있죠?
우리나라랑 인도의 인연이 되게 오래되었다고 들었는데 2000년의 인연? 이렇게 해서 보면 좋을 것 같아요.
키워드 잘 뽑는데?
감사합니다.
하나만 더 할까요?
저는 그 인도 대사님에 대해서 알고 싶어요. 한국과 인도의 진검다리 키워드로.
비슈누 프라카시 대사님과의 대화가 좀 많이 기대되네요. India-Korea relations have a rather romantic beginning. About 2,000 years ago, a Korean king married an Indian princess. 100 years ago, the Indian poet and Nobel laureate Tagore called Korea the light of the East. Well, today, Korea-India relations are closer than ever before. And here to talk about that is Indian Ambassador to Korea, Mr. Vishnu Prakash. Ambassador, thank you so much for coming on Heart to Heart.
Greetings to all your viewers and to you, and absolutely delighted to be here with you.
Well, we are delighted to have you. Now, I understand that this is actually your first posting as an ambassador. How does that feel?
Well, it is indeed my first posting, and I must say with all humility that I am on the top of the world.
And before that, you were the spokesperson for the external.
I was a spokesperson for my foreign office for more than 3.5 years. And I think that that was one of the finest experiences that I had with friends in the media, not just from India, but across the world.
Right. So that actually made me a little nervous because I knew that you'd be a very, very smooth and accomplished speaker. And so I'm a little bit nervous
Thank you.
right
You're
now.
being very modest and you're trying to put me to ease. So I am at ease. Thank you.
No, not at all. But I know that in addition to being a spokesperson, you're known as someone of an East Asian specialist, especially China and Japan. But what did you think of Korea before you were appointed as ambassador to Korea?
Well, I was very fortunate in that I have seen the relationship develop over the last 5 years. As a spokesperson for 3.5 years, I was trying to recall, I must easily have done at least 6 or 7 briefings, thorough briefings on India-Korea relations, because that was the period when the relation was cruising along. So I must say that I had more than a nodding acquaintance with the relationship. I knew what it entailed. And if I were to let you into a well-known secret, and I had a few choices, and but I only wanted one country, and that was Korea. And I am very happy, gratified rather, that my Prime Minister and the Foreign Minister accepted my request, and here I am.
I may appear to be fishing for compliments about Korea, but why choose Korea?
Well, I think the reason is pretty straightforward. One is that our destinies, India's destiny is linked with the East Asian region. East Asian region has tremendous energy, economic, political, social. And we are an ascending power. We have with Korea, Japan, China, with the ASEAN region, we have a phenomenally vibrant relationship. So that was one. But there's also a bit of personal aspect to it. I was posted in Japan in 97-98 when the Asian financial crisis happened. And I learned that Korean women were lining up to donate their gold. And by the way, you're perhaps aware that Korean women in a span of few weeks donated $2 billion worth of gold.
That's right.
And Korea was one of the first countries to emerge. I mean, that's an aside. But I was stupefied almost, because as an Indian, I only know, Indian ladies kind of love for gold. My wife will never give away her gold. She'll give away the husband, perhaps not the children, but the husband certainly, not the gold. And here there were Korean women. So that, I must say, was a phenomenal experience for me. And I have since then I read more of Korean history. I saw the rise of Korea, and one thing led to the other, and here I am.
But during your visit and what you saw on TV, and compared to actually living in Korea for the past 1.5 years, have your perceptions changed at all?
They have changed, but they have changed for the better. I have seen one thing that I didn't know, which I got to know within days or weeks of my arrival in Korea, is the sense of humor. I find Koreans have a natural sense of humor. Bless you for your sense of humor, because I can happily kid around with everybody, even whether there's a kid or a grown-up, and I do find the funny bone in the Koreans, which we Indians lack. So I'm very happy about it.
I find that hard to believe, Mr. Ambassador. Since you were appointed ambassador of India to Korea, I hear that exchanges have become much more vibrant, especially cultural exchanges. Is there something about India that you would like to introduce to Koreans that we perhaps are not that aware of?
Most certainly, and thank you for asking that question. A few reasons. One, this is the 40th anniversary year of India-Korea diplomatic relations. So that gives us an opening, gave us a window. And secondly, I firmly believe that any relationship is as strong as the people-to-people relations. And I am very happy to share with you that India and Indians have nothing but affection and love for Koreans. So that encourages me even further, and there is tremendous interest towards the Indian cultural traditions in Korea and vice versa. So again, that is something which is of a lot of interest, and I think that the rich Indian cultural heritage, which transcends or which includes dances and music and cuisine and attire and what have you, has a tremendous resonance here. And that is yoga, for example, or now Bollywood, which is, perhaps that we produce only 1,200 feature films a year, and we have become the biggest movie producer in the world. So I find that has a lot of resonance. And similarly, Hallyu in India is now the Hallyu wave has started sweeping northeastern India. You go to northeastern India and people are dressing like Hallyu stars. Korean soaps are becoming very popular. And my common friend Mr. Sai has become a household name in India. So I mean, I'm very happy that, and now there's a Korean cultural center in Delhi, there's an Indian cultural center in Seoul. So I guess we are moving along quite rapidly.
That's good news for both our countries, I think. Well, we think the next video clip would be helpful in illustrating that point as well. In September, there was an event held on Nami Island to better introduce Indian culture to the Korean public. Let's take a look. As a famous tourist site, Nami Island is always full of tourists. The ambassador of the Indian Embassy in Korea, along with his wife, have visited the island to celebrate the first day of the Month of India in Nami Island event.
Nami Island is a partner. We are, by the way, doing a series of events all across Korea, in Busan, Incheon, Seoul. We are doing film festivals, food festivals, dance festivals, cultural festivals. And Nami Island is one of our old partners. We have done it again. With this, we reach out and we expose them to the colors of India, the aromas of India, the love of India.
Like my husband says that we have come in the lap of nature, and I feel that I'm in heaven. I'm so happy to be here.
Are you sure?
Yes, I am.
In celebration of the 40th anniversary of Korea-India diplomatic relations, the Indian Cultural Center and Nami Island prepared an event that offers various experiences of Indian traditional culture. Tourists are greeted with Indian fairy tale illustrations and a painting created under the theme of Gitanjali, the representative work by Indian poet and Nobel laureate Tagore.
Vishnu mein Shanti ho. May there be peace in the world. Shanti is peace.
Indian cultural experiences continue outside. Famous Indian snacks such as samosas and chai are served, while you can also get an Indian henna tattoo.
This is samosa. We make with wheat flour, outside wheat flour, and inside we fill potato and ginger and peas. We put masala and roll, then we fry. This is very popular in North India.
남이섬 그러면은 한국에 있는 또 하나의 리퍼블릭, 남이나라 공화국으로서 독자적인 어떤 문화와 어떤 그 운영 체계를 갖추고 있는 신비로운 곳이다. 50년 전부터 심은 자연들, 사람이 만들어서 가꾸고 거기다가 세계 각국의 예술인 문화인들이 와서 함께 문화적인 어떤 그림도 그리고 글도 쓰고 또 노래도 하고 그렇게 함으로써 이제 국제 문화의 섬으로 알려져 있죠.
Indian traditional cultural experiences at Nami Island. This event offers a valuable time to form an emotional bond that transcends borders, nationality, ethnicity, and religion. Mr. Ambassador, you mentioned the Indian Cultural Center here in Seoul, and I know that it has many programs on offer. Which programs are most popular with the Korean public?
Two programs are particularly popular. One is yoga, and we have, I must do a bit of canvassing here. Yeah. We have a very qualified yoga instructor who is a yoga therapist also. So that I find is very popular. And then we have a very well qualified Kathak dance instructor, which is one of the traditional dance forms. That is popular, but believe it, more than that, Bollywood dances are popular. Because Bollywood dances, because this is a different genre of dances altogether. And while the Kathak dancer is a classical dancer, but he is encouraged also by his students to teach them Bollywood dance. And we have now a young group of Korean girls and girls in particular who dance like Bollywood stars. So, and then we are teaching Hindi, we are also holding periodic cooking classes. So, and we do regular film shows, Indian movies are catching up. So there we have, I think, a fair spectrum of things and events which are of interest.
So that's very interesting. I was going to ask you about the Kathak dance because I think that's one of the most traditional and popular dances. But you say the Bollywood dance is very, very popular. How would you describe the Bollywood dance?
Well, that's a very good question. I mean, I don't know how to describe a Bollywood dance except to say that I think it combines elements of Western hip hop, Indian classical, free movement. I mean, you name it. It all comes together. With a lot of music, with a lot of movements, with a lot of joy, happiness, energy. And well, so much so that the impression in some parts of the world is that Indian men and women only sing and dance around the trees, singing to each other. But
that's not a bad thing.
Yes, not bad at all, except that that's not reality. I wish that was the case. But every Indian movie is studded with a few Bollywood songs, and some of them are picturized at great cost and effort, and they are super hits in their own right.
But not only cultural exchanges between our two countries, I mentioned in the beginning, they have some romantic roots. There was that fairy tale romance and wedding between King Suro of the Kaya dynasty and also Princess He of Ayodhya. That's truly amazing. And is this story, it almost feels like a fairy tale, is it also recorded in Indian history books?
I believe that there are references to it, and we are now looking at kind of digging deeper. And I must tell you that there is now a memorial to the Indian princess Suri Ratna, as she was called before marriage, in Ayodhya, and which has become a popular place of visit by the Koreans. And the Karak family, which is in Gimhe, they visit regularly. But let me, since you mentioned that, present you with a publication. It's a fictionalized work, it's a novel written by one of my predecessors, Ambassador Partha Sarthi, on the famous journey of the princess from Ayodhya to Korea. And believe me, it is delightful. The imagery is so vivid that I read it in 10 hours flat. So if you can, please do go through it and let me know when you have read it. I'll ask you 5 questions to establish that you have actually read it. It's a delightful book.
I'm sure, and I love romance novels as well. So with the imagery and romance, I'm sure I'll love you. Thank you very much. So it's also recorded in the history books as well. And where is this memorial established?
In Ayodhya,
which is
in Uttar Pradesh, which is slightly northeast of Delhi.
Okay. So aside from the romantic beginnings as well, we share a lot of history. India in particular played a great role during the Korean War. The services of the Indian Lieutenant General Timaya, as he commanded the UN Neutral Nations Repatriation Commission after the armistice, are also well known as well. How does India regard Korea as an ally, as a partner? What are the relationships in that respect?
Well, as far as the relationship is concerned, I believe that India-Korea relations are emerging as one of the most important relationships for us, amongst the most important relationships. And Korea is already a strategic partner of India. We have a comprehensive economic partnership. We have signed a civil nuclear cooperation agreement. And every year, this happened in 2010, 2011 was Civil Nuclear Cooperation Agreement, 2011 was the Indian Cultural Center, 2012 was, we set up the Indian Defense Wing in Seoul. So every year we are galloping forward, and that should itself give you a feel of how important this relationship is, and it is being nurtured by high-level attention. We have annual summits, and it has become a truly multifaceted relationship, which I am very happy about.
And I think a lot of that is based on the similarities that we have actually between the two countries. For instance, I did not know this before, but we share the same day for Independence Day,
That's right.
August 15th. How does India observe its Independence Day?
We are very happy that we share this monumental day, landmark day in our the histories of our two nations. But the Independence Day or the Republic Day, by the way, 26th of January is the Republic Day, so we celebrate two national days, is a day of great joy and great introspection. We look back with a tremendous amount of satisfaction, but rededicate ourselves to keep further enhancing the momentum in our march towards attaining our destiny. And you know, we are a large country, we have a lot to celebrate about, but we also have lots of challenges. And we are a young nation, we are a proud nation, we are a civilizational society. So it's a mix of both, but I think this journey of the last 65 years has been a tremendously rewarding journey for the nation, and we hope to march along.
I wonder if I can pose a question to you regarding, as you know, our troubled past with still Japan and regarding the Independence Day, and I think that always brings to the surface those still simmering maybe tensions at times. Is there a similar feeling in India at all?
Thank you for asking me that question. You know, we are the land of Gandhi. As you know, Mahatma Gandhi is the father of the nation, and he had demonstrated to the world a different path, a path of non-violence, a path of peaceful non-cooperation, etc. And Gandhi always used to say that I hate a sin, I don't hate the sinner. And he would again say, for example, that he had lots of quarrels with the British government, but the Britishers were his friends, and he had some of the best friends were Britishers. So yes, we were colonized by the British for 200 years, and we suffered under a colonial rule like any colony would. To just throw a number at you, in the early 19th century, India's per GDP was equivalent to 23% of the global GDP. In around 1820, 23% of the global GDP. And fast forward to 1947, it was down to 1% of the global GDP. So that should give you an idea of you know, what we went through. But nevertheless, there were positive sides to the British rule. One is the language. I mean, we have the largest number in the world who speak English as a second language. The infrastructure was developed. The sense of national identity was created during the British time. And we became the first country to voluntarily opt for joining the Commonwealth of Nations. So which where the Crown is the head of the Commonwealth of 51 odd countries. So yes, I mean, we love our independence, we love our freedom, we struggled very hard for that, we shed blood for that. We did not like the British rule, but we have the best of relations with the British.
Thank you very much for that answer. Well, I know that you also had a commemorative event here in Korea for the past Independence Day. How did you celebrate it with the Indians and Koreans?
That was amazing. We did it for the first time because this is the 40th anniversary year. And we had both our Korean friends and Indian friends. We sang the Korean national anthem, the Indian national anthem. Flags of the two countries flew together. We did cultural programs, and we had something like 500 people who showed up at very short notice. It was an open house, and my colleagues and I are determined. We were so happy that we have decided unanimously, and believe me, if there are two Indians, there are 21 views, but here this time we decided unanimously that we will always have our Independence Day together.
That's wonderful. Yeah. It was the first time that we had a joint event this year.
Because it was the 40th anniversary, so we thought about it and we are very happy about it.
Okay. Well, I think another thing that India is well known for is your excellent human resources. And I think, and probably what we're most envious is that huge young population. I think I read somewhere that almost half of the 1.2 billion population is under 25. Is that right?
Something like that. Something like that. And
amazing.
It's a tremendous resource. I think it's the demographic. We are hoping to reap demographic dividends. But please do also appreciate it's a huge challenge because we have to create something like 9 million jobs every year, and so we have to harness the demographic strengths that we have, the power of the youth, and channelize them in a meaningful fashion so that we can reap the benefits of the demographic dividend.
That seems to be another similarity. Youth unemployment is also a big issue here in Korea as well.
I believe that is an issue, but again, you're very fortunate that almost 73% of your college school kids go to college, which is, I believe, the highest number in the OECD countries. So, and I'm never tired of citing that figure that from $82 of per capita in 1962, you have risen to just $23,000. So what a phenomenal rise, and I guess it is all to do with the determination of the people, the industry and the discipline of the people.
Imagine education had a part to play in that as well, this zealousness for education.
That's one leaf that we would very much like to take from your book, and constantly we do look at the Korean success in providing universal education at that speed is something which is phenomenal.
But at the same time, Mr. Ambassador, India has produced no less than 7 Nobel laureates, and also Venkatraman Ramakrishnan for chemistry most recently, I believe.
Compliments, that's a very difficult name to pronounce. I don't know how you do that.
I had some help before the show from certain gentlemen. So how do you produce so many Nobel laureates?
Well, we are very happy that we have had 7 Nobel laureates, but I would want 70 Nobel laureates, not 7, because, India is a large country. We are also very fortunate to have had a tradition of inquiry. For example, that the number 0 was given by India to the world, and mathematics that you know today, the engineering, the astronomy or whatever is based on 0. So, and we have had great mathematicians, astronomers, scientists, over the millennia. We have had poets, we have had scholars, a sense of literature, some of the great literary works which go back 2500 years like Mahabharata, Ramayana, etc. are Indian. So we are very fortunate that we have this tradition, and we really hope that we can build on this tradition, we can continue this tradition. And I would be very happy when we meet next time. I can tell you now we have not 7 but 70 Nobel laureates.
I'm sure that day will come.
Thank you.
I wonder if it might come amongst the women of India, because I know that India also has a great tradition of female leaders and women who have just raised the image of the country. And it's a lesson that I think Korea also wants to learn, because as you know, we have our first female president, and more women are rising in all sectors of society. Is there any advice or lessons that Korea can learn from India in that respect as well?
Well, I must say that I am very impressed by the empowerment of women in Korea, how they work shoulder to shoulder with men. And I am one of those who actually believes that the women are smarter than men. And I'm not just saying that to you, my wife knows it, my daughter knows it, and I say that, and I believe in that. And the victory of President Park Geun-hye is a source of tremendous inspiration for everybody, especially women, not just in this region, but in our continent and beyond. And we are very fortunate to similarly have a good tradition. We had a lady Prime Minister in 1966, Mrs. Indira Gandhi, who was the daughter of former Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru. And she was the Prime Minister for quite a few years. India made rapid progress under her stewardship. And we have had, again, we have been fortunate to have women presidents, women CEOs, women ambassadors, judges, ministers. May their power increase.
Thank you very much. We've been talking with Indian Ambassador Vishnu Prakash about the very special relationship between our two countries. Now here's a clip of the ambassador giving a talk on the very special relationship. The room is full of university students who have come to hear a special lecture by the Indian Ambassador. The Indian Ambassador adds another special relationship. Today's lecture focuses on the present and future of East Asian relations, especially that of Korea and India.
The point that I'm making is that India's destiny is linked with East Asia. India is an Asia-Pacific region, and there are natural synergies between India and East Asia, and we are very happy that our relations with Korea and East Asia are growing very rapidly.
India, a country with high growth potential and market power. Ambassador Vishnu Prakash works hard to develop the relationship of India and Korea, focusing on trade, investment, and education.
평소에 이런 대사분 만날 기회가 없는데 우선 되게 이런 분 만나서 얘기를 들었다는 것 자체가 되게 인스파이어링한 경험이었던 것 같아요. 그리고 강의 되게 청중 친화적으로 말씀해 주시고 그래서 되게 편안하게 질문도 많이 할 수 있었고 되게 좋은 경험이었던 것 같아요.
인도 대사님께서 직접 오셔서 좋은 강의를 들려주셔서 저 인도에 대한 관심도 높아지고 그리고 이제 동아시아 협력체에 대한 관심도 높아져서 굉장히 뜻깊은 강의였습니다.
The lecture of Ambassador Prakash is meaningful to these students majoring in political diplomacy. Students ask a series of questions during the Q&A session.
I find Korean students amazing. They are very bright, they are very inquisitive, and I always get energized by the Q&A session with after my talks with the Korean students because they are full of questions and which I really love.
Korea and India both focus on education and developing human resources. We look forward to active exchanges in these fields. Mr. Ambassador, I didn't know that India is actually the third largest country for English publication. Is that right?
I believe so. We have, as I mentioned to you, we have the perhaps the largest English-speaking people who use English as a second language in the world, courtesy the British. And naturally, we have a very large publishing industry. I believe that we publish more than 100,000 books a year in different languages, predominantly in English. And we are the third largest publisher of English books. And the literature in English, the newspapers, the media is almost the opinion maker in India.
Well, talking about books, I think we have to think of Tagore's A Light of the East. This was in 1929 when Korea was still under Japanese colonial rule. And for Tagore to describe Korea as the light of the East, it seems quite amazing. I think it deeply touched many Koreans as well. What do you think he thought of this?
As I see it, Tagore, we call him Gurudev, which is the leader or the teacher. He was a sage, he was a humanist, he was a poet, he was a philosopher. Somebody with a very tender heart, with a gentle soul, somebody who had a sense for history. And I guess he could see which many of us could not. And he had tremendous affection for Korea, he had tremendous affection for East Asia. And his words have come prophetic. And I'm very touched and gratified that Seoul has honored him. In Jongno district, there is a bust of Gurudev Tagore, and he is one of the very few personalities who have been so honored by Korea. So we are very touched.
I think we were very touched too. But not only cultural exchanges between our two countries, the economic exchanges between our two countries have grown phenomenally over the past few years. Just how much in trade volume? Can you give us some numbers?
Our trade after the conclusion of SEPA and operationalization of SEPA, the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, which was operationalized on the 1st of January 2010, grew 70% in a matter of 2 years. 70% in a matter of 2 years. And by the end of 2011, we had crossed $20 billion. And we have set a trade target of $40 billion by 2015. Last year, due to the economic slowdown, it dipped a bit. But given the synergies and given the kind of natural complementarity of interest in the basket of goods and services, I'm very confident that our trade relations will only grow.
I think most of our viewers, and I certainly am, more familiar with the FTA, Free Trade Agreement, but the CEPA, the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, what exactly is this?
Well, I believe that it is like an FTA, but I guess it's more, as the name suggests, comprehensive. It is much more broader. It takes into ambit goods, services, investments, and so on. So it's a reflection of a common desire among countries and friends to enter into a partnership, economic partnership.
So it's a broader...
It is broader.
Okay.
The scope is broader, perhaps the reach is bigger.
And how do Indian consumers perceive Korean products or services? We mentioned a little bit of the Hallyu wave that's taking off in India, but about Korean products or products made by Korean companies, how are they perceived in India?
Well, it will not be an exaggeration to say that Korean products have quote unquote pleasantly invaded. There is an unhappy invasion, there is a pleasant invasion, and have invaded Indian kitchens, Indian living rooms, Indian bedrooms, Indian drawing rooms. It's a fact because, and I'll actually tell you what happened to me. I had come back from China in 2008 and I had no idea I'm coming to Korea, so don't get me wrong. And we were trying to set up our household and we went to check on what we should buy in terms of home appliances, white goods and things like that. And people said, sir, please buy Samsung or buy LG. And like a good Indian, I said, why? Right? It's a natural thing. So they said, A, there's value for money. And then B, even more important, is the service. And I was told that the after-sales service is immaculate. So I must say that Korean products have become household names in India. You can go to any house in India, I can bet you. And more than 52% or 53% of the white goods market or the consumer electronics in a country of 1.2 billion people is now with the Korean companies, so compliments.
That's an amazing
Yes,
figure.
it is.
I think we have to thank Indian consumers.
We have to thank Korea for, we are not doing any favor to Korea, by the way. It is just because it is value for money. It's a good product for a good price.
Well, are there any particular investments? Is it white or consumer products that also India is increasing its investments in Korea then? Is that a particular area that they're interested in?
Companies are growing in size. Some of them have also already crossed $100 billion mark. For example, the House of Tatas, which bought out Chorus Steel or Jaguar, Land Rover, etc. You would have heard. Their revenues have gone beyond $100 billion. So they are present in Korea. They bought out the Daewoo heavy vehicles about 8 years ago. But in the last 10 years, just to put it in perspective, we have not only been receiving investments, but also been making investments. In last 10 years, Indian companies have invested more than $120 billion abroad. And there have been very high-profile investments that have come to Korea. Other than Tata Daewoo, Mahindra & Mahindra, which is an auto major, bought out Sangyong Motors. And they have invested close to $700 million in Sangyong Motors. We have the House of Birlas. They have invested more than $1 billion in the Novelis Group, which makes aluminum sheets and components. And we have a score of IT companies, we have a score of other small companies. So, while we are very happy and we see Korea as a preferred partner, we want more Korean business in India, investments in India, exports to India. But we are also happy that the Indian flag, Indian industrial flag, is flying high and mighty in Korea.
Well, that's very good news, I think, for both of our countries. And we're talking to Ambassador Vishnu Prakash of the Indian Embassy here in Korea, and we'll be right back after this. Was this your first time to Nami Island when you went
I've
for
been
this?
there earlier. I went there last year and was pretty impressed to receive the citizenship of Nami Island. I mean, it's quite a cute place, with their own currency, with their own kind of immigration. I like the concept, and we have a long-standing relationship, the embassy and we, with Nami Island.
Mr. Ambassador, congratulations. I hear that you were recently conferred an honorary doctorate by Korean University here, and this is quite rare for a foreign ambassador.
Thank you. I am most humbled and most gratified. The Tongmyong University had honored me with an honorary doctorate, and I'm most grateful. Thank you.
Why do you think you were conferred this doctorate?
Well, they have been very gracious in saying that they recognize my trivial role that I played in enhancing our cultural relations with Busan and the southern part of South Korea, and also in terms of forging closer people-to-people relationship, economic relationship. So I just, I'm not trying to be overly modest, but I must say I just did my job and they have been very, very gracious. So I'm humbled, actually humbled.
That's wonderful news, but could you tell us a little bit more about some of the exchanges that you did promote between Busan and
Well, we are Busan. With due respects to other parts of Korea, I see Busan almost as the cultural capital of South Korea. I don't know whether I'll be lynched for saying that, but you know, India is the land of Buddha, as you know, and the Korean Buddhists see India as a spiritual home, and the percentage of the Buddhist population in southern part of South Korea is much higher. So we have that strong bond, and we have lots of Korean pilgrims going to India regularly in small groups or larger groups. We have started doing regular film shows, and they are packed. The halls are packed when we do our film shows. We have been having cultural exchanges. We've been sending cultural troops. We are doing workshops at universities, where yoga workshops or things like that. So we are quite happy by the quality of response, and we are trying to now forge greater educational linkages, exchanges between not just with southern part of with Busan, but all over the country. And what I'm particularly happy about is that we are very close to opening a new Indian Cultural Center in Busan, which is not a governmental initiative, but that is basically a private initiative, and along with the Hanrare Foundation of the Jogye order, which is the biggest Buddhist order.
Right.
So, and our role is very limited to combining the dots, and you know, so I'm very happy that by November, December, we will be able to set up a second cultural center in Busan.
That's great news, especially for the people of Busan. But are there any particular spots in India, just going off track, but are there any particular spots in India that you would recommend for would-be visitors to India? On TV right now, we see one particular airline actually showing wonderful spots of India. Are there any spots that are maybe off the beaten track that maybe Koreans haven't visited enough, or that you would love to introduce?
Well, we are very happy that we get more than 100,000 tourists from Korea every year, but 100,000 tourists from Korea, I would like to have 1 million tourists. And but India is a large country, it's a continental sized country, and there's a lot to offer. But for a first timer in particular, or somebody who has not been there, to get a fairly good idea of Indian culture, history, traditions, cuisine, Indian colors and sounds and music, I would think that what we call the Golden Triangle, comprising of Delhi, which is the political capital and the historical capital of India, it's with a very rich history. Agra, which is home to the Taj Mahal, the famous Taj Mahal, the monument of love, and one of the great wonders of the world, and Jaipur, which is from my state, happens to be from my state. I mean, I'm not biased towards Jaipur.
No, of course not.
Which is in Rajasthan. It's a desert state to the west of India, and that's called the Pink City. Again, it's a beautiful city. So, in a period of 4 to 5 days, one can very easily cover this the triangle, and get I think a reasonably good feel of what India is all about.
I'll certainly be planning my next trip.
Oh, lovely, and
to
please
India.
let me know when you're going.
Definitely. Now, my last question is, this is your first post as an ambassador. Korea is your first post. Are there any particular goals or ambitions that you have for your stay?
I mentioned earlier during the course of our interaction that any relationship is as important as the people-to-people relationship. So one thing that I would love to do, and it's already happening, is to further enhance the interaction, the engagement between the people-to-people people of our two countries, which is actually happening, and we have been doing that reasonably successfully. But more than that, as we were discussing, India is a young nation. We have a passion for education like Korea has. So the other thing that we are actually working on is to have more institutional engagements between Korean institutions of excellence, which are numerous, and the Indian institutions of excellence. And it will be very, I don't know whether I'd mentioned to you, we have presently 2,500 Korean kids studying in India, and some of them as small as 6 or 7 years old studying English and in India. And we have more than 1,000 Indian scholars in Korea studying, doing masters and PhDs and postdoc, especially in sciences. You are very strong in sciences. So again, it's a natural mix, natural partnership that we can develop. And lastly is the SME sector, small and medium enterprises. And for us, it's very, very important because it's a large country. I see the emphasis on SMEs being given by the present administration in Korea. And the SMEs, Korean SMEs in my view, have the requisite experience, they have the technology, they have the capital to have tie-ups abroad, but they need people to work with them, of course, in terms of identifying partners. So that is one more area that we are working on and hoping that we have already the big Korean boys in India, but it will be nice to have more Korean SMEs.
Well, I wish you all the best of luck during the rest of your stay, and I hope you'll visit us again, because it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on Heart to Heart.
Thank you very much. The pleasure is all mine, and I look forward to visiting you again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador.
Thank you.
And that was Indian Ambassador to Korea, Mr. Vishnu Prakash. You can watch our interview once again on our homepage, arirangtv.com. Join us again next time. Bye-bye.